Hi there. Abraham Lincoln said in one of his speeches, he said, I see in the near future a crisis approaching. I see in the near future a crisis approaching that unnerves me and causes me to tremble for the sake of my country. Corporations have been enthroned, and an era of corruption will follow. At the end, he said, until all wealth is aggregated in few hands and the republic is destroyed. He said this in November 1864. 5 months later, he was assassinated. He said, and the republic is destroyed. You know, the United States today, it's been, in the last decades, the most omnipotent, it's like a power, the pinnacle, visible, that is policing the world. It doesn't mean we're talking about American people, the mass popular, no, talking about the government, how it is. You know, when a government reaches certain level, certain power like this, it ignores completely the platform that it is standing on. It will be destroyed by this platform that they feel secured by. This is usually the nations or the empires in the world. We have in history, a biblical history, well, this is not from the Bible, from the Quran. There was during the time of Solomon was here in Jerusalem. There was another civilization today it is Yemen, Sana'a. Okay, there was a big civilization there. The hoopoe, which is a bird, usually is not trained, but this is an animal. Some people, they train this animal because he can detect from high altitude while flying. It can tell you where there is a water underground. This is something talented. God gave him that. So anyway, he flew. At the same time, Solomon was looking for him. He did not find him. Then he said, where is he? He can't see the hoopoe. Then all of a sudden, he showed up. And he said, I saw some people prostrating their head to the sun. They were all directed, or I should say, by a woman. She's a queen. That's the Queen of Sheba, as they call her. So, what did he do, Solomon? He sent a book to call them to prostrate, to come back to God. So, Solomon was a power. And then there was a power. Alayhi salam. The thing is, the power that belongs to the prophets of God and their followers is an esoteric power. If it is manifested like just a drop from its ocean. But the power that belongs to other civilizations that were built on the prostration of creatures like them, it's an exoteric power which will collapse anyway. What happened here? So anyway, he sent them a book to call them to God. It said, in the name of God. So what happened to those counselors that surrounded the Queen of Sheba? The first thing came to their mind, they say, we are powerful. Don't worry. It's up to you to decide. In other words, we can defend ourselves. Nobody's going to impose its political philosophy on us. We can do anything we want. The woman was one of the smartest, perhaps, among women and a man in this history. She was very smart. Because a human being is usually driven by the power. The power that he has as an extrinsic power that he acquired in this world it will speak on his behalf. Military power, technology, this, X, and keep going. By the time, they received the book, they said, the counselors, they say, don't worry, we are a power. She said, no, one second. So she sent a gift to King Solomon. Why did she send a gift? She said, I'm going to see, because I want to make a distinction between kings and prophets of God. Prophets of God, you can't buy them. You cannot. Corruption, giving them no, you cannot. But the kings, you can buy them. So she sent this gift to them, and then Solomon, he said, refused it. It's not its time to go into more details. He refused it. But what did he do? He said quickly, he asked that the jinn and the human being, they were all working under his command. He asked them, he said, who can bring me her throne? The throne in a country is where the kingdom, where the king is, and where the technology, the concentration of the technology is. Usually this is all surrounded by a big wall in the country. This is what usually in ancient time were. They were like this. Now you're going to say, to bring her throne, this is kind of impossible to accept, rational minds accept. One second. If we go to the 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s, even recent history, I'm going to tell you, you see this letter I have here. This letter. I'm going to send it now. For instance, somewhere in the United States, and I'm going to send it to India. At the same moment, someone is going to read it there. Will you believe in this? Of course, you're not going to say it's impossible. What about the book? It's even more. It's impossible. What about an encyclopedia? Science has proved that you can send now. You can just download. You can send it. They download it in a few seconds if they have a speedy internet. The same phenomenon that I rejected earlier, now I can accept it. So the same thing what he did to show you how the technology, the advanced technology, and it was in the hand of who? Those who worship the material world or those who worship God. He said, who's going to bring me her throne? Among the jinni, what did he say? He said, I'm going to bring it to you before you move from your place, and I'm willing and power and I can do. Usually, the civilization that is under God's power, the individual, by the time he reaches the power, he stand or he should show renunciation. Thank God. This is God's power. That's a renunciation. He doesn't claim the power. Other than that, in the pharaonic systems in the world, all these material, they always claim, and they claim even something that is not theirs. So this person, by the time he said, and I can do it, I'm willing to date, Solomon did not, the Prophet Solomon alayhi salam did not even answer him. I don't say he ignored him. Another person among the human being, he said, I will bring you her throne before a click of an eye. It was there. He did not say, I am going to do it. He showed that the future or a near future. No. It was there. How did he bring it? Look, again, as I said, you cannot explain those things with our minds, or this technology hasn't reached that, this kind of science yet. So by the time he said, before she comes, he's talking about the Queen of Sheba. He knew she was coming. He said, نَكِّرُوا لَهَا عَرْشَهَا. Can you modify her throne? Do you understand? why he did it. But the time she came anyway, she traveled from all the way to from Yemen to Jerusalem, across all these distances. By the time she came, you know what he built, what he asked his jinni and ins to build for her? There was a platform at the entrance. A platform that seems to be, it's like wavy, with like water going up and down. If you stand there, you would feel disequilibrium, you lose your balance. Yet, it was solid. He wanted to teach her something, that you are standing on an unstable civilization that was resulted from worshipping the sun. It gives you civilization, but it will collapse at any moment. In parallel, there was another civilization, which is the civilization that belongs to, to God, but through the hands of Solomon alayhi salam. So by the time she came, he asked her, is this like this your throne? He showed her the throne, but they modified it. She said, it seems like mine, it seems like the one, why he kept her like this. Why that kind of state of wonder he created it in her mind. Do you understand that a civilization that is built on the definite, and then they create another definite state, and the definite, they try to pre-program the uncertainties. The other civilization, which is the civilization that is under gods, they let the state of metamorphism all the time. This is the thing, she knew what he meant. But another issue. Usually when you come to the other kings in the world, they try to impress you. They sit on a chair, on a throne, something made of gold, pearl, bodyguards, red carpet, and then a room, and after another room, and then you have to go through another room, which is the hierarchy of today's like pharaonic systems, and even simple administrations is like this. She came, she found nothing. Yo, man, where is this civilization? They brought her throne in one click of an eye. And where is this civilization? There's nothing building, military. He was sitting on the ground, on the floor. Where are the bodyguards? Nothing. She understood the encyclopedia behind that. She understood that civilization. What she said, by the time she was walking, she couldn't, hold her equilibrium, and she lifted her whatever dress, and he said, "Adkhuli as-sarha, in sarhun mumarra." He told her, "Don't worry, it's solid." Even though she couldn't control herself, she understood what he meant. But the thing, our conclusion here, she did not object, face the other force by hand wrestling it. No, she surrendered to it. You're gonna say United States is gonna surrender. We're not talking about this United States. The country, that's it, is gone, is driven by its power. They can't see reality, but that's it. I'm talking about individuals. Individuals not to be driven by these kind of extrinsic, exoteric, everything is a show-off. The civilization that is under God's supervision, that you welcome willingly. Anytime you gain a power, renunciation, you give and you humble yourself. That's the prostration to God all the time. The American life is all show off. If they got a minor of something, some kind of talent, faculties, they have this, they cannot control themselves. They have to go outside for an exhibition. I have to be validated. So it is built on a show off. It is built on a challenge. It creates a challenge for itself, to prove itself. To create a challenge. Now, other countries, they have a challenge as well. But in other countries, what happened? That powerful fish swallows the other fish, which is the case of the Muslim world. In the United States, the same thing, but they know where to stand in such a way that the power, with the power and the government is between, they both of them reinforce its hyper efficiency on both of them without realizing it. The government keeps being powerful and they don't know how. This is the challenge, how it is built. The last point, which is always, again, as I said, we're not talking about which country will take over, we're talking about individual. Look at the first person who spoke, the one who was with Solomon. He said, I can bring it to you before you move from your place. This is a genie, by the way. Before you move, and I am willing and I am capable of doing it. By the time he said that, the Prophet Solomon did not answer him. This is not part of the civilization that is under God. Under God's civilization, anytime you find the power, you renounce to this power even though the power is yours, but you internalize it with the prostration to God, you become more powerful. And where does it go, this power? This power has a reflection in the material world, and then in your psychic world, and then in a metaphysical world. This is your eternity. In contrast, the power that is existing in the material world, which is today's case, is everything is scattered. By the time the person who goes back to the self, he finds himself isolated. I don't know why I don't have happiness. I have everything. That's what it is. We repeat what said what's his name? Abraham Lincoln. He said, I see in the near future a crisis approaching that unnerves me and causes me to tremble for the sake of my country. Corporations have been enthroned and an era of corruption in high places will follow. At the end, it's a long one. He said, and money power, he said, until all wealth is aggregated in few hands and the republic is destroyed. Today, when you look at governments all over the world, most of them are puppets. Okay, United States, the think tank, who is really electing these congressmen, councillors, forget about the puppet in the White House. All of them by big corporations. Everybody knows that. But big corporations. For how long? The thing is, the big corporations are manipulated by other elite behind them that they ignore. And this elite is manipulated by another one that they ignore as well. They know it, but if you know reality, you should be really careful, cautious. All of them, they work for the prophet of Mr. Lucifer. They don't know about that. He's the big, well, Mr. Lucifer, at least he's gaining something. You know, what is he gaining? He's gaining a longevity of time. He said, oh God, can you let me until the day of judgment? Rabbi andirni ila yawmi yub'athun. You know, he has that longevity. But he is using you. You can be a puppet, you can be corporation, you can be elite, whatever the name we give you. All of them, they work for the prophet of Mr. Lucifer. They work for Lucifer. And they die. Where is your eternity? Anyway, as they say, it's always pleasure to share with a gentlewoman and a gentleman of your caliber. I see you soon.